What is going on, everybody? Welcome to week 2 of That Franchise Guy picks. Last week was not the best. The power rankings held up all right, but our 5 picks, we went 1-4, unfortunately. Pittsburgh did not have the firepower to cover against Cleveland. Houston at Jacksonville, I was way off on both of those teams. Houston's O-line was just miserable. The Cardinals, I picked the Cardinals to win that game, or at least cover. And that David Johnson injury, ever since that happened, they looked terrible. Carson Palmer really screwed us over on that one. And then the Todd Gurley rushing yards, we kind of predicted that game right, but Gurley didn't get his yards. And then at least Philly was able to go into Washington and take care of business there. So we start 1-4. We got to do better this week. So let's get into the week 2 picks here. And again, these are ranked in order of my confidence in them. So starting at number 5, we got the Bears +7 at Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay is going to start slow in this game. The Bears are battle tested already. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had that week 1 off due to the hurricane. So I think they have a little sneaky comeback at the end. I think the Bears come out physically better than the Tampa Bay Bucks. So I like the Bears +7. If they win this game, I wouldn't be terribly surprised. But I would take the Bears to at least cover in that game. And then the second pick here is the Eagles +6 at Kansas City. I don't think the Eagles are 3 points worse than the Chiefs, giving the Chiefs a 3-point home field advantage. Not going to be easy to win in Arrowhead, and the 6 points is a little scary because a touchdown, you lose that bet. But I like the Eagles to at least cover, and I think they could have a serious shot at winning that game in Kansas City, especially with that Eric Berry injury. And then the next two are a couple over-unders. So the third pick here is going to be New England at New Orleans, over 56 points. That is a massive over-under. But that Patriots defense looked terrible. New Orleans now, their offense might be a little lowly rated after going to Minnesota, but now they go from facing what I think is the second best pass rush in football to probably the worst as of right now. New England has got to figure that D-line out, and then we know Tom Brady's going to go in there and put up points against the Saints. So I like over 56 points in that game. And then my fourth pick is under 42, the 49ers going to Seattle. Now we know Seattle struggles against teams with good D-lines. The 49ers D-line didn't look quite as good as I was hyping them up to be this whole offseason, but I think it's still a solid D-line. I think the Seahawks are going to win this game pretty comfortably. They're big favorites, but I think it's going to be something like 26-3 or something. I don't know how the 49ers are going to score against the Seahawks. And then my most confident pick of the week, I love betting on Aaron Rodgers at any point if he's an underdog. So I am taking Green Bay +120 on the money line to win Sunday night at Atlanta. That game's going to be great. But honestly, the Falcons did not look up to snuff compared to last year. Been kind of predicting that this offseason, and the Packers looked great. That defense looked like it's going to be at least serviceable, and that Packers offense is going to have a fun time now going against the Atlanta defense as opposed to Seattle. So those are my 5 picks for the week. We'll see how those turn out. And then let's run through the power rankings here. So starting at 32, still the Jets, 31. The Colts moving down 4 spots. They got to get Andrew Luck, man. They are just terrible. The Browns getting up 1 spot just because the Colts fall. 49ers drop a spot. And then the Cardinals, -15 spots. I think they're in for a terribly long season, especially with how bad Carson Palmer looked. The Bills moving up +2, getting the win. The Texans also dropping 15 spots. I was way off. And you know, J.J. Watt did not look great. We get to see him tonight. It's going to be a sloppy game, I think. But anyway, the Texans have a lot to figure out. They also need to get DeJuan Brown back at left tackle. The Jags moving up 5 spots. I was wrong about that defense. I do want to see what they look like, though, against a real NFL offensive line in Tennessee this week. It's actually in Jacksonville, but that's going to be a very telling game for this Jaguars defense that I was not buying all offseason. So we'll see if that lasts. The Bears +2. They are a tough-nosed football team. I like them a lot this season. The Bengals -2. Dolphins just moving up +3 because guys falling around them. The Rams +2. I was already a little higher on them, but they're sitting pretty comfortably in the low 20s. The Titans staying put at 20 did not look good. If you go back and watch my Titans deep dive, which was my biggest criticized deep dive of this entire summer, I basically said everything that we saw from the Titans, that the play calling's terrible and that Marcus Mariota is way too comfortable taking his checkdowns and does not use his feet the way people think he does. You see the read option touchdown and you think he's a scrambling quarterback. No, he's a pocket passing quarterback who they call design runs for. He's a lot like Cam Newton like that. I need to see more from Mariota. Fortunately, they are the highest ranked team in their division. That's a terrible division, so they might make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to go very far this year. And then the Saints -2 did not look good in Minnesota, but few people do. The Redskins moving up 4 spots despite losing. They looked about what I expected. The Lions +7. This was the other team that I'm kind of waiting to see another week of, because the Cardinals, outside of David Johnson, were pretty miserable. I thought Matthew Stafford looked pretty good in that game, though. I got to give him his credit. I picked the Lions to be a massive disappointment this year. They got to go to New York, I believe, this week. That's going to be a great game. New York also at 16th. Now, they don't drop at all. They're going to be falling a ton in a lot of people's power rankings. Bleacher Report had them at number 1, and my deep dive for them was also pretty spot on, not to toot my own horn, but Eli Manning is a terrible quarterback, and their offense is going to be bottom 5 this year, and that defense jumping from what was historically bad 2 years ago to a very good defense last year, they're going to be somewhere in between this year. The Giants are a very mediocre football team this year. They're going to be hovering around 16, I think, most of the year. The Bucks +3, Ravens +5. They look pretty good, overcoming injuries. That defense is tough. I don't know how they do this. That culture is just incredible. The Panthers +2. They look pretty solid. The Chargers -2. They look pretty good at the end of the game. And more Chargers BS, not being able to make the field goal. It's more of the same with the Chargers. The Raiders +1. Falcons -4. And really the only thing that had them at 6 was just respecting the fact that they got to the Super Bowl last year, and they did not look explosive on either side of the ball. Again, I'm picking the Packers to win that game on Sunday night. The Vikings +4. I was already a little higher on them, but as we can see, playing at home, that team is going to be almost unbeatable. That's a great home field, and that offensive line looked good enough. So I like the Vikings a lot this year. The Chiefs, these guys would have risen much higher if Eric Berry never got hurt. I think most Chiefs fans would trade a loss to get Eric Berry back, honestly. So they do move up, but we're going to have to see how they look without Berry on that defense, because it's similar to when the Seahawks lost Earl Thomas. Their scheme is very dependent on being able to use him all over the field. So we'll see what they look like. The Broncos staying put, looking good for having them pretty high. They looked pretty great on defense. No really surprise there, but for some reason people were forgetting about the Broncos this year. The Steelers -3. They didn't have that explosion on offense. And I know they always struggle on the road, but that Browns defense without Myles Garrett, you got to look better than that. And then the Patriots -4. Some might think it's an overreaction, but I already had questions about this defense. To me, it's almost like Belichick's taking this do your job thing a little far. I mean, Cassius Marsh was playing way too much. That front 7 is so bad. I don't know how this defense is going to turn it around. They need to get Hightower back, who's incredibly important to that scheme. But now without Edelman, the offense is containable. And then that defense could be pretty bad this year. So the Patriots, we'll see what they look like against New Orleans. And then the Seahawks stay and put at 4. Defense looked awesome. Offense struggled with that offensive line, just like we knew it would. And then the Cowboys, kind of reminding us on Sunday night, when they have the big 6, as I like to call them, that offense is almost unstoppable. And Zeke is such a great fit for what they can do. But they need all 6 of those guys. If anyone in that group got hurt, and it's hard to predict them all to stay healthy again this year as they were last year, they could drop off pretty significantly. There's nothing special about that defense. And then the Eagles. I'm going to stay high on the Eagles, man. I almost had them number 1 here. Carson Wentz looks incredible. If you watched my roster update, I have him as the 8th best quarterback in football now, tied with Matt Ryan. But it's not just the offense. That defense, that D-line is unlike anything we've seen in a long time. Man, they're going to be a great team this year. But the Packers offense, it's just, I know we didn't really see it against Seattle, But with Ty Montgomery and that running game going and that defense just looking serviceable, I think the Packers are off to a great start this year and well deserving of the number 1 spot. So that wraps up the power rankings here, guys. Let me know your thoughts. What picks do you like this week? So cheers, guys. We'll see you for next week's episode of That Franchise Guy Picks. Peace out.